Yo, what's up guys, that guy with the pencil here, and I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. I don't really like Midoriya. Or, I do, I just don't like where he began, and him pretty much all the way through the final exam arc. Now, I'm pretty much indifferent to him. He definitely does not rank in my top main characters, or even my top characters at all, and I think I know why. All of my favorite main characters, or any characters in general, have some level of confidence, even if it's not super high. So I'm gonna make one primary change to Midoriya in this timeline: his confidence. So let me take you through and give you an alternate story to the Midoriya that we know and some love. One major thing is going to stay the same. Midoriya is quirkless, but instead of reacting as he does in the initial story, giving in to the pressures of society and Bakugo, he still stands tall. He may not be able to be a super strong hero, but he's not going to give up on his dream. He holds these ideas until the age of 10, when he brings up to Bakugo. This leads the two to a verbal conflict, which quickly becomes physical. After an intense fight with an angry Bakugo who wants to snuff out Midoriya's hope, the blonde hothead only ends up stealing his resolve. Midoriya realizes that he is no match for Bakugo due to his sheer power, and understands that he must beat talent with hard work, and decides that he shall train and learn how to fight. Inko uses some money she has saved up to buy Midoriya as many teachers as he needs, and Midoriya begins training at a much younger age, and ends up developing into a much stronger fighter because of this. He becomes a martial arts warrior along with a brilliant tactician that he was supposed to be in the original story. He's much more confident in himself despite his quirkless nature. We get to the time in the original narrative where everyone is applying to UA in class, the Ultimate Hero School, and everyone goes to mock Midoriya once again. However, Midoriya isn't even really faced. Scrolling down information on heroes in his notebook, Bakugo tries to assert his dominance over Midoriya like he did in the past, but Midoriya easily avoids his aggressive attempts for the notebook and angers Bakugo even further. Midoriya displays little reaction to Bakugo's probes about him being quirkless. It even laughs when Bakugo tells him to go jump off the roof. Midoriya walks off, leaving Bakugo both confused and angry. Now, what happens? Does Midoriya still get attacked by the sludge villain and get saved by All Might? No. The biggest change of this scenario is that Midoriya actually avoids slime when it lunges out of the sewer. The sludge is confused and lunges again, but Midoriya dodges again. The slime is getting annoyed and starts narrowing down its attacks into a smaller area. Its attacks become more and more linear, and that's when Midoriya yanks something out of his backpack. An airtight bag. As he dodges one last time, the slime gets caught in the bag. It's a large mass, but Midoriya captures the head and slams the bag shut. Midoriya chuckles as the rest of the slime collapses, and he holds the bag up. He compares Sludge to a popular water-based hero, whose form is based around shifting between water and flesh, and how their weakness is their head, so we only had to assume the same thing for the Sludge villain. For the airtight bag, it's one simple solution to a dangerous situation that Midoriya has planned for. It's one of the many contingencies that he has set up, and he spins the slime in the bag, laughing at its anger. A big thing that changes in this alternate timeline is Midoriya's usage of his intelligence in the information he has on heroes. He is much more of a methodical thinker, using his brain and what he has available to him to survive. He learned the hard way against Bakugo in the past and must always be prepared for every type of threat. Despite his more confident nature in this timeline, he's also way more cautious. He has a lot to reach for, but he also has a lot more to lose. He ends up turning the slime villain in with no trouble, and All Might actually sees the entire situation go down, shocked with the teen's ability. However, Midoriya does not meet his idol, and just continues to live life after dropping the dangerous villain off and reporting the slime's remains in their proper location. He knows the UA entrance exam is coming up and decides to train even harder. He does more research on the exam, figuring out the entire test and planning accordingly, while doing tasks to build up his strength to supplement his skill from his teacher. He finds a beach full of clutter on one of his many runs and takes it upon himself to clean it alongside his regular workout routine. He adds challenges to work his stamina, strength, and speed. Midoriya is already in better shape than he was when he initially finished All Might's training in the original, so the beach cleaning only makes him even stronger. Once again, All Might is simply observing the young man, who knows he's being watched. However, each time he goes to investigate, All Might manages to run off, and All Might stops coming after some time to avoid Midoriya, who he considers a potential one-for-all candidate. The day of the entrance exam comes up, and he unsurprisingly sees Bakugo there. The two lock eyes, but neither say a word. Bakugo realizes that Midoriya is beyond his verbal abuse, and Midoriya was already above such a practice already, so their interaction is brief, but full of tension. Midoriya doesn't trip this time either, but he still runs into the gravity girl Uraraka, who ends up tripping instead. However, he is caught off guard when she crashes into him mid-fall, and the two end up floating. Uraraka apologizes, and both get a bit flustered, but Midoriya takes it in stride and walks on in. The robots get explained again, but Midoriya already knows all of this information and has already devised a solid plan. Ida has his little moment, calling out Midoriya for mumbling about President Mike, but Midoriya earns his respect by simply apologizing for his actions rather than cowering back in fear. Midoriya gets to the starting area and instantly charges, to the confusion of the other potential students. President Mike explains that there are no countdowns in the real world, and Green Arrow's right to just charge on in. Midoriya isn't superhuman, he's just extremely fast, and ends up grabbing a piece of rubble from the environment and pitches it directly into the eye of a charging robot. The robot crashes, defeated, and Midoriya takes a destroyed piece of metal. He treats it like a staff, trips up another robot, and takes to the piece of metal as his primary weapon, running around and using his simple skill and knowledge of the robots to defeat them quickly and cleanly, minimizing damage. He also focuses on other people, saving a guy with a laser belt, as well as a villain robot charges in to take him out with a quick tackle, and impaling the robot. He also saves Ida by yanking him out of the way of a robot's path when the speedster trips. Similar situations happen all throughout the exam, Midoriya both destroying villains and saving people, naturally, not even really thinking about it. However, he is quickly reaching his limits as a regular human when the zero pointer charges on out. Midoriya, since he has no quirk in this timeline, is scared just like everyone else, but then he notices Uraraka. Pushing past his internal fear and running massive calculations in his head, he takes not a moment to rush back to Uraraka and lifts the stone with his metal pole as a lever, just enough to allow Uraraka to wriggle free. They run as the exam ends. As she goes to thank him, he passes out due to overexertion. The teachers discuss, going over the results that actually shocked them. Not only did two from the same middle school top off the exam, but they did it in two entirely different ways, and one of them had the nerve to even be quirkless. Midoriya has more rescue points than villain points, but both are just high enough that he ties Bakugo in combination. They are extremely impressed, especially at Midoriya's ingenuity and apparent natural hero, especially a certain blonde superhero who is amazed to see that same kid from all that time ago do so well, especially quirkless like All Might was all those years ago. Midoriya wakes up with Recovery Girl, shocked to find himself in the infirmary for some reason. The older woman is glad he is awake and admits that he is fine all around, just tired through overexertion. He finds Uraraka, who did actually have some broken bones from being crushed by that rubble. He gets up and checks on her, running a few tests, but she reveals that she's just fine now, only super tired. We get a rundown on Recovery Girl's quirk, like in the original timeline, but just to show even more about Midoriya's knowledge, he already knows about it. He's glad that Uraraka is okay, and thanks Recovery Girl for her help before leaving. He sees All Might leaping from the building, about to go do some hero work, and he grins. He sees his icon, and his goal. Time passes again, and the UA acceptances come. Midoriya gets in the class 1A as normal, and he cheers out. He makes it to the first day, and ends up seeing Bakugo. Bakugo is livid, and this time actively charges Midoriya, grabbing him and threatening to blow him up for daring to make it into UA. Midoriya, however, is unfazed, knowing that Bakugo wouldn't go through with it, and he is ready to fight Bakugo right there and right now. As the two are about to conflict, Ida interferes, and Bakugo yells at him, leading those two to conflict. And Midoriya takes a seat, ignoring the two after that, and calming down. He pulls out a notebook and begins to study the other students. An interesting mix, a lot of regular humanoids with some mutants. He begins to theorize when that girl he saved from before comes in. She spotted him and the two interact, still with some of their initial nervous tension. However, with a few quick jokes from Midoriya, the tension quickly dissipates, and Aizawa comes in. Midoriya instantly recognizes him as a Racerhead, an underground hero, but still extremely potent in battle thanks to his native ability. A lot of the same, and they go outside. Aizawa explains the challenge, how everyone will be tested with 8 different tests, and the lowest scoring person is expelled. Midoriya realizes the challenge, but rather than freak out, he mumbles to himself after hearing all the tests, finding loopholes and tricks, and calculating the chances of him not getting eliminated. A lot of people stare at him for this, but Midoriya has realized one important thing from simply observing them all earlier. He is trained, lean, and fit, while all these other people seem to rely purely on their quirks to get themselves someplace, except for a few. He can work with that by making sure all of his scores are just above average enough that the difference from all the extra points will beat out some of the weaker in the class. The tests begin, and Midoriya actually scores rather high. He's only second to Bakugo and Tenya in terms of speed. He is 6th in the ball throw. He's actually the most flexible due to his rather ludicrous stamina thanks to all his training. And he places 2nd in any events that do pertain to stamina. While Uraraka and Bakugo easily take the ball toss in terms of raw power, Midoriya prepares his throw carefully, and rather than throw purely for height, he launches it at a specific angle to get maximum distance. Midoriya actually takes 4th all around, scoring 5th overall, outdoing many of the other students. He feels bad for the person who truly got last, being Mineta, but he knows one thing. He can't give up on his goals so quickly. Then, Aizawa reveals the logical ruse, and as everyone cheers and starts freaking out, Midoriya walks up to Aizawa and thanks him, and admits that he was a little suspicious from the start. Aizawa chuckles and gives a nod. Then, he asks a very important question. Are you really quirkless? Midoriya laughs, albeit it's a bit humorless. Yes, sir. Yes, I am. Aizawa goes quiet, but then gives one of his trademark grins. I have someone I want you to meet. And that is where we're ending it, folks. So yes, this has to be a multi-part what if. I thought about how long this would be if it wasn't, and I don't think I could manage. So I'm wondering, what do you guys think of this alternate timeline? How will Midoriya's training factor in? Who is Aizawa taking him to meet? And the biggest questions of this timeline, will Midoriya stay quirkless? Seriously, I enjoyed writing this, and this one tweak makes me like Midoriya way more and actually changes surprisingly a lot about the story. It's always cool when a character holds their ground against all odds, at least for me, and I do love a true underdog story. So, I hope to see you next time on What If Midoriya Was Confident. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off.